You saw the title and thumbnail, and no, this isn't clickbait. At least I don't think it is. I genuinely think this one event, being this one long-necked man who's good at hitting green balls, and his fight with an entire country's government, could spark a massive conflict between multiple communities and start World War III, okay? That last part's a stretch. But let me start back with a simple Serbian man in his quest for greatness. It goes without saying, Novak Djokovic is an immensely talented individual. Honestly, it's an understatement. He's the greatest tennis talent we've had since Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. Without a doubt, as he's dominated the court over the last 15 years, using his signature lanky man slide technique. Disclaimer, I'm not a tennis analyst. Bogo brew. Over this time, Djokovic has amassed a grand fan base, with many of them hailing from his home country Serbia and neighbouring countries, as he rose to prominence and dominated during a great career, which he still does for that fact. Now, I can't claim I know all the sporting achievements of Serbia and their athletes. Actually, I don't know any. Not that I blame myself. Serbia is a smaller country when compared to a lot of others, sporting a population of 6.9 million. Nice. So given this, I would have to assume a countryman of your relatively small country being the de facto king of an entire sport, as popular as tennis for over a decade, it would result in a fair few loyalists. Obviously, every celebrity has a fan base to a degree, and in that fan base are always a number of finite, insane stans that are stuck in a parasocial relationship with this human who doesn't know them and will center their own lives around them completely, obsessively posting fan cams and being a general nuisance to the people around them. However, stans for certain personalities are a bit unique. Take John Cena for example. Sorry, I couldn't find a picture with him in it. John at some point did something that the K-pop community loved, because now all of his comments on Twitter are always just K-pop stans dropping random BTS content while asking for a follow, which has extended into, well, everyone just asking for a follow constantly. It's so strange. Novak Djokovic is another example of this, where in his community, following aforementioned points, and maybe a little enabling on his part, has created a community that revere him as a literal god. Judging from some of these tweets, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like Serbian custom to make a blood sacrifice every harvest to the almighty Lord and Creator of life, Novak Djokovic. But honestly, Novak seems like a great guy, where it looks like all he wants to do is spread love and the idea of chasing passions. But come on. This is a little weird. So as we know, Novak and his team were granted exemption from having to get the vaccination to travel to Australia and compete in the Australian Open to defend his title. Upon arrival, Novak was disrupted by officials and later, after lesser than ideal treatment, denied entry to compete and even had been primed to be deported immediately. Now, this is a crazy situation and a massive stuff up in so many ways that shouldn't have ever been so big, but here we are. I think the situation was handled very poorly by the Australian government and or whoever was to be the middleman between the two, which ended up in Novak being held in a centre for holding until deportation. What this led to was Novak disputing the charge and eventually winning that case, and furthermore, getting the grant to be allowed to play. Now, I'm not interested in the politics of it all. I'm not interested in what's right or wrong, and it's not my goal to criticize the decision, or anything like that. Personally, I feel bad for everyone involved, and am overall happy to see the best tennis player in the world get the chance to play, assuming he deserves to. My opinion aside, there's one undisputable factor in this ordeal that may prove more volatile than people realize, and it starts with the Australian people. So, something to consider. You're an everyday person, living your life and following the governing rules about the virus, essential vaccinations and mandates surrounding it, following an effort to minimize the effects of the virus on the world around you. This everyday person may have overcome massive physical and emotional hurdles during the pandemic, whether it be being kept away from immediate family for extended periods of time, or even having suffered terrible torment with the virus being an immune-compromised person. Both of these examples, and more, are obviously things people are struggling with. Then you find out that a man has just been granted a human right that you would have been able to for yourself. That being to have their visa reinstated and go out free to perform at a venue being non-vaccinated. That's every Australian in the Melbourne area right now. Scratch that, that's a large percentage of the entire world right now. This news of Djokovic's grants has enraged a lot of people, and as it turns out, the angriest people are always heard the loudest. Which again, I don't want to undercut this. is so many people. Mob mentality can be a dangerous thing where grey areas don't thrive. That grey area being Novak's situation, justified by the assumed evidence that led him to winning the court case to begin with. This won't be given the same attention to detail by a mob mentality. Further disputes that are going on between Novak's team and the government of Australia are only fueling the fire. My estimate, if Novak retains the ability to play, when he steps out onto that court on national television in front of millions of viewers, he will be met with the loudest boo in tennis history. That doesn't sound really grave, does it? Let me rephrase. He will be met with one of the loudest boos in history. Is that too much to say? Maybe that's too much to say. Take 3. He will be met with one of the loudest boos in sporting history. Before I get charged with treason against my own people, let me flip the script a bit. Still on the subject of mob mentality, throughout this ordeal, there have been an army of Novak worshippers chilling on the other side of the world, wearing all their Djokovic-themed clothes and trinkets, just watching with big frowns on their face, watching as their leader is held, quote, against his will and like a prisoner, which can't go over smoothly. Where did this very strong opinion come from, you say? Enter the true power players of our story, Novak's parents, and their insane statements. Novak's mum has made public statements, and I'll give her the benefit of being emotionally distraught over the ordeal with her own son, though words have incredible weight, especially as they're used like tools by the media, who have painted an image for all the world to see to their design. Some of these statements include, quote, his accommodation is terrible. Some small immigration hotel with bugs, it's all dirty, the food is terrible, and that her son is a, quote, scapegoat and prisoner in a politically charged event. Even the word torture is posted everywhere from her. Torture. Again, whether true or not, the media have no soul and have likely skewed the words in an intended way which paints a terrible image of inhuman living conditions. Hopefully for Novak's sake, it isn't as bad as presented. I used insane to describe the family's takes, but honestly, it was really just for the dad. This man truly cares for his son to be this mental. Either that or he just loves his achievements, because I swear he's at every game I've ever seen Novak play. That love and gratitude Novak constantly expresses, to my estimation, has been passed on by his parents. This I won't question, but he came to a conclusion that I really can only describe as, well, insane. Jesus was crucified and endured many things, but is still alive among us. Novak is also crucified. Tonight they can throw him in a dungeon, tomorrow they can put him in chains. The truth is like water, and water paves its own path. Novak is the Spartacus of the new world, which won't tolerate injustice, colonialism, and hypocrisy. What? There are so many examples of dialogue from him, but that pretty much sums it all up. This didn't fall on deaf ears either. Key political figures have hit out at the Australian government and Prime Minister. For example, an ex-minister of Serbia is talking about tensions raising between the two countries? Oh my god, what? Things are getting a little... Come on, calm it down, guys. It's hard to tell if there'll be a massive retaliation in Serbia, as it's pretty dependent on an entire fan base turning hostile, when in reality, they just seem like wholesome, infatuated people. But one lock is the reaction that will happen if Novak is allowed to play in the Open by the crowd, which will cause massive ripple effects around the tennis world. Hell, the world in general. Maybe this displayed backlash publicly is enough to make these people break and ignite a retaliation. The effects of this one tennis boy and his battle could be disastrous, changing virus laws, human relations, and even government ties forever. One day later. Okay, so things have changed. News has been broken about Novak's reported deliberate knowledge of testing positive before attending multiple events and traveling to other countries before departure to Australia. So that's a thing that might make my entire video obsolete. Right now, it's incredibly hard to root for Djokovic, especially if you assume this is all a calculated ploy to selfishly insert himself into the Open, displaying a complete disregard for human lives. Mistake in the moment or not. One change from this that I believe will come is a swell of support against Djokovic and encouraging his vaccination and deportation, hopefully in a chill, non-volatile way. Among the storm of early reactions is the incredibly professional Prime Minister of Serbia, Ana, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, stressing the importance and delicacy of the situation, who may end up resolving tensions herself in hopefully a peaceful deportation of Djokovic, or stay until negative. Hopefully our protagonist of the story here has done enough, but unfortunately I doubt it. It's safe to say Djokovic won't play without incredible justification, though it's worth saying he's still training like a menace, like he intends to play. Again, quick aside, if he's allowed to play, that will be so bad. Assumptions aside, the situation overall, with such strong agendas, from Djokovic's home camp in Serbia to the Australian government, and arguably the most destructive, the media, is far from over and has many more twists to come. Now that the video's done, you may be asking yourself, hey, why does this guy that makes hopefully funny gaming videos, why is he trying his hand at a drama video? And I don't know, I just kind of thought it was fun, and I kind of like the idea of doing more of this, as long as it's good on a topic that isn't too touched, unlike this one, and on like the rare occasion. So if you somehow liked it for some reason, please show some support with a like or a comment, you know what, or anything will help. And if you don't want to, that's fine too. But hey, thanks for being here, and thanks for watching.